I saw 30 minutes at the bottom and I was like, well, I can definitely talk fast. So
No, that's just before we get started one. So you're all good. What's up, everybody? I've missed you guys. Thank you for being understanding while we just didn't have any webinars for a couple of weeks. So I could do something completely not normal for me, which was go on vacation. And it was epic and it was awesome. And my son turned 16, and that's why we were at the beach with him and his friends. I don't know if you call it a vacation when you're supervising teenage boys, but they had a great time. It was great. We survived. They felt like it deserved a merit badge for that. But anyway, we're back to our regularly scheduled program, and I am super excited to have my dear friend Nicole here today. Oh my gosh, like it's been so much fun. We were like getting started because Nicole and I both been so busy that other than the like a comment here, comment there on social media, it's been forever since we've caught up. We've like got to get back to our coffee day.
Yes, sure. I want to hear about your vacation. So let's schedule that after this.
We will. So she is the chiropractic technology enhancement executive with ChiroSpring software. She has 8 years experience working with chiropractic EHR systems. She has worked with many offices and organizations with chiropractic to help them use technology more effectively. She's kind of like a powerhouse boss babe. So like I've been, like we've known each other for years, and all of her involvement with different organizations throughout chiropractic. And I have to say, what not only are you like a ray of sunshine, especially when we're talking about technology, but in general. But the wealth of knowledge that you have and the how giving you are and supportive you are in helping practices be successful. It's one of the things that I love most about her, and it's probably what drew me is that just that giving and spirit of service to others that really drew me to Nicole. So I'm so excited that you're here today.
Oh, you're too sweet. Thank you so much, Christy.
Well, take it away, girl.
Well, okay. So I can't wait to catch up with coffee with you and talk more, but I'm definitely excited to get back into a webinar. I was telling Christy before, it's honestly probably been about a year since I did a webinar, and I was like, Christy, doing them so consistently, never taking a break and never stopping. For the last 8 years, I've worked specifically with chiropractic EHR software. I was with another software program for a number of years and recently converted to ChiroSpring, which I'm not going to do a demo of ChiroSpring today. So no worries. We're not going to go through just EHR demo, but really what I want to share with you is throughout that time, really have learned a lot specifically about what to look for in an EHR software and how to best optimize your software systems and then what that's going to do for you. I've always had a passion for technology. My first job right out of college, they had this program called TNC is what it was called, the Network Connection. It was a proprietary built software for them specifically, but what it was able to do for our business to be able to, just take away the repetitive tasks, right? To be able to automate many things that we're going to do day to day, and then to communicate directly with our clients. It was incredible. And it opened my eyes to many opportunities. And then you may or may not know this. I think, Christy, I don't know if you know this or not, but my aunt and uncle are both chiropractors. So that's how I kind of got shifted into the chiropractor world. So I have a passion and love, and I grew up and was born with chiropractic. So when this opportunity came to marry the two of chiropractic and technology, I mean, it just seemed like a dream come true, honestly. And then last year I was recruited by ChiroSpring, and I didn't even know I was looking for something different. At the time, that's what Christy was talking about. I was doing a lot of social media work. I started a company called Chiro Social Tech, was training. I was working with a couple of the different schools, doing classes for social media for new doctors, just so many things along with selling EHR. And it was great. And it's great to do, keep busy and to be able to make such a big impact. But I really felt like I was mediocre in all areas. And so since about almost a year now, I've been with ChiroSpring just doing software demos. And I'm doing so many demos a day. I didn't have the time to do that before because I was doing too many things. I'm learning so much more. So this is coming at such a great time for us to connect and share with your audience, because I'm getting so much deeper with what chiropractors are using, where their biggest, pitfalls are, and really why our clients, like, one of the greatest things is ChiroSpring is the #1 rated cloud chiropractic software platform. That's from Capterra. So just, client reviews, peer rated reviews is what that's based on. But to me, that's the biggest, is a peer rated review. To have actual clients saying, we love it, we rave about it. That can be rare in the software world. But definitely want to hone into, like, my love for technology really came from its ability to help you reach your goals faster and help you meet bigger goals faster. So efficiency, productivity, and accuracy can really drive an organization. So when you implement smart workflows, utilizing technology and software, it can have a major impact on your office's bottom line. And really want to break down some of those numbers for you today so you can start to look at the impact your current software solutions are having, and or the impact they could be having through different smart solutions being implemented. So we're going to turn the power of technology on in your practice today with 5 smart software solutions. And then we're going to break down what the actual ROI for your office is or can be implementing those. So for the 5, I did a lot of research when I was preparing for this webinar. ChiroHealthUSA is great. They make you get your slides done like 3 months in advance. And I am like the heaven procrastinator. I will procrastinate till the night before. So I had some time to really put some research into it and thought into it leading up to that deadline, not trying to crunch it all in the night before, right? And I did a lot of research in other industries. I started looking at dental EHRs and optometry EHRs and EHR systems that manage hospitals, and what they're looking at and what their, improvements are, what their workflows are, and what their systems are. And one thing that I knew deep down, but never, really solidified or, went out and did the research to back up, is how uniquely beneficial software is for the chiropractic industry. So very rarely do you see the chiropractic software options or software options within a specialty that you see within chiropractic. A lot of them are utilizing, like if Office Ally, they have their Practice Mate EHR. They're using like a Cario or like a Dr. Chrono. If you know any of those, which are applicable EHR programs for a number of different specialties. So they'll say, like, we work for, all of these different specialties. And what you find in that regard is when you choose a system that is built out for multiple specialties, multiple industries, it's not built out for any one specifically. So you end up having to recreate the wheel many times. And that's why this first tip is so key, which is expanding with custom software is going to be more cost effective. So choosing a chiropractic software system, choosing chiropractic technology platforms that have really considered a chiropractor's need in their product development is going to be the most cost-effective choice you can make and decision you can make straight off. I'm a huge believer in cloud. I've sold server and I've sold cloud. Over the 8 years, I went back and forth between server and cloud. And what I've sold, and I've seen cloud software gives you the utmost protection, portability, and accessibility, which are key things to streamline your practice. So definitely look for chiropractic systems and, if at all possible, cloud systems to really streamline, your not doing data backups at the end of the everyday, not having to do remote logins. All of those things are super time consuming and not nearly as efficient as what you can get right now with cloud software. Better software by design. So when your software is specifically built for chiropractors, it's designed for your specific office needs and documentation and billing and communication and care plans. And that becomes so important day to day in your operations. So a lot of those software systems, some I name, they're great programs, nothing against the programs at all, but to say you have to build a lot of it out and put a lot of effort in to get it to meet your needs, especially when it comes to documentation. Practical feature development. This is something I plugged in there, and it's hard to know like what is practical feature development, but I think especially what I've seen is there are chiropractic EHR software companies popping up left and right, which is a great thing. To have choices, to have competitiveness in the market only enables every software system to get better and grow better, right? With more competitors out there. So it's a great positive thing. But I also see a lot of them are really honed around a couple of key features. So they've done one thing really, really, really well, or they're looking to be an all inclusive of their features being very, very core features that are not built out. So they don't have all of the additional functionalities, setting options, things that you can do within that to make it more robust and comprehensive and customizable for your specific needs. So that's when I looked at ChiroSpring. They really have practical features that really make sense, rather than what you see like bells and whistles and really, just it looks good, but are you really going to use it, right? Type thing. Complete comprehensive fast soap notes. This is something that's huge for every single office that I talk to that is looking to convert the system they're currently in. It all boils down around the, completeness, quickness, accuracy of their soap note documentation. And I think when you're initially looking at software systems, you're initially purchasing software systems, documentations a lot of times is one of the last things I see on a new doctor's list or on a new clinic's list. They just think I need it to do my billing, I need it to do my scheduling, I need it to manage my practice. I'll figure out the documentation or the assumption that it's a chiropractic software. So its documentation, it's got to be good. It's got to be easy. It's got to be available. When the reality is a lot of software programs, even chiropractic software programs, you have to build out a lot of the documentation from scratch. So you'll hear things like quick buttons or hot buttons. I've heard triggers is a term I've heard. Macro buttons, which I love macro buttons. Macro buttons are great. You want to look at, do they have templates of already created macro buttons that are usable, or do you have to completely create those macro buttons from scratch? So it's a big difference in, how you're going to implement and use your software and how quick it's going to be day to day. If you get behind in soap notes and you have to go home at night and finish soap notes, or something happens, you don't get them done, you're carrying them into the following day, it really creates a lot of just unnecessary stress. I don't know about you, but like when I procrastinate things, that's why I was so grateful to have this presentation done and not procrastinating it right up until the minute. That creates so much unnecessary stress just within us, having those unfinished tasks. So with a properly built chiropractic software system, you can have a complete, comprehensive, fast, quick, accurate soap note, and also the ease of knowing that it's done, it's ready for billing, it's ready for audits, it's fully compliant. All of those things can be checked off both physically in your software, and in your mind as well. And then that's where the last one is: pre-populated templates for chiropractic. Going into the number 2, let's talk about actual intentional workflows. And so this is the biggest thing I think when you're reviewing your own current software programs and technology within your office, and or looking at new technology or new software, it is so beneficial to really write out and consider what are your current workflows and your current processes, and where could there be improvements of those, or even where do you see a lot of repetitiveness where you could automate those tasks? So one of the biggest goals with technology is to save your front desk time, your biller time, your office manager time, as well as your provider time. So across the board, across all of your processes, for all of your team within your practice, how can technology benefit that? And so, and I can send these slides, or you could take notes or screenshots if you want of any of this, but I put these pointers as kind of a good flow to start with. So to think about your workflows around scheduling, around your patient, your daily patient workflow within your office. And as that especially correlates with your front desk workload, your billing, your soap notes, your coding, your reporting, your tracking, and your data collection. A big thing in data collection too, from a server-based to a cloud-based, is just that your data is with ChiroSpring, specifically every cloud software system does it just a little bit different. But with cloud software systems and the one that I use, we back up your data 24/7. So if you're working and you're seeing patients and your computer crashes, all of that data that you just did is already backed up into the cloud. Whereas the server-based system, if that computer crashes, anything that you just did could potentially be lost to the previous backup, which hopefully was the night before. But I find many times we start to do backups once a week, once a month, once a quarter, heaven forbid, with server-based data. There's also going to be where you're backing that information up to. So with a cloud-based system, they're backing it up to the cloud. So if you're backing your information up to an external hard drive, or you're backing your information up to some sort of file folder within your server currently, and then you're backing that up, if anything gets corrupted, any of the hardware, especially your server, if that were to crash or something were to go down with that, all of your data and all of those backups are gone unless you have one, being backed up externally at another location. So definitely going to be much more secure in a number of ways to store your information on a cloud-based versus a server-based. And I actually talked to 2 doctors recently. They both came from a server-based software system. One had a server crash. One, the software company was doing their backups for them. They were going in and backing up their information, but they were backing it up to the wrong files. So those that location where they were backing it up ended up getting deleted, unbeknownst to the office that's where all of their information was being backed up and stored. So there's a number of ways it can happen, and it does happen. And I know those clinics are spending thousands of dollars to try to get IT people to pull and retrieve and recover as much as that data as they can. But with the cloud, we do a 24/7 redundant backup in transit and at rest. And so that means it's not just backing up to the cloud, but it's also backing up to multiple locations. So we have multiple servers in multiple states. And so your data is in a number of different locations, encrypted and secure. So it has those different layers of, if this were to happen, if this were, the worst case scenarios, which when it comes to compliance, when it comes to security, because I get these questions a lot, when it comes to compliance, when it comes to security, it's really layers, right? So it's your HIPAA compliant, but then you can look at each level of HIPAA and see how layered and how secure that data, that transfer, that communication process is. So let's break these down in just a little more detail. So let's look at what some of these workflows, and we're going to say from start to finish. So like from a new patient to actually the end where you're looking at your data in the office for that quarter, year, what have you. So kind of starting from this first area over here, online booking is, just getting more and more and more popular. When I started selling software in 2014, so just about 8 years ago, I guess that was, so 8 years ago, I was trying to do the math there. Very few online booking, very few softwares did online booking, very few clinics wanted online booking. There was still that, I want to control my calendar. I want to have a level of control in when patients are coming in for what services, where, that sort of thing. Well, as technology continues to adapt and grow, so do the features themselves. So online booking now is a very robust feature that you can still have a lot of control over your calendar, over what happens, and still utilize the online booking for not only ease for your office. So again, it takes away time that your front desk is actually answering the phone, plugging in those appointments, what have you. But it's also ease for the patient. I know I'm one of those people that, like, if I'm looking for a dentist or an eye doctor, like, please, can I book online or can I just message? I do not want to pick up the phone, call, answer all those questions. So we're in a multitask world where, as much as possible, many people today are of that mindset of, I'd love to just go online and do it. Or another big component of this is like I said, ran Chiro Social Tech, which was a marketing company where I taught chiropractors and also managed many chiropractors marketing campaigns. So if you're running Google ads or Facebook ads, or you're doing any sort of online marketing, your highest return on investment is going to be when you follow through with their ability to also book online. So if they're finding you online through a Google ad or for a Facebook ad, they're not going to go from that Facebook ad to a phone call, right? And they're hands down not going to have it. From Google, maybe. From Facebook, 99.9% of the time, definitely not. So where they may be intrigued, they might want to schedule an appointment. If you don't have the ability for them to follow through with that and book that visit right there online on their mobile, from the ad, as it follows through that funnel, you'll lose many of those people that were very interested because they're just not going to pick up the phone and call. And then there's also they can enter a form on your website, request an appointment, if you will. Here's my name, address, information. And then that has to be sent to your front desk, who has to then reach out to them by phone. Hopefully they catch the person live. If not, they're leaving a voicemail and you're doing the back and forth of phone calls. So again, not as efficient or productive as booking online. So I kind of wanted to give you both use case scenarios there. And like with our software, you can create custom URLs specific to your location, your provider, or your service. So you can have a unique URL for new patients, a unique URL for an existing patient that wants to schedule an adjustment, and then any additional services. Maybe you're doing nutritional services, maybe you have a massage therapist in your office, an acupuncture, and you want them to be able to book those services online. So, and that's hugely powerful. And it's coded, many of them now, right with your software programs. When you're looking at an online booking tool, you're going to get your deepest automation when it's integrated with your EHR software. So what I mean by that is that it actually puts the visit onto your EHR calendar, and also that it refers to your EHR calendar in regards to who's available when. So you're not having 10 patients booked for the same time slot after lunch, and then now your front desk has to go through and call those people and move those people and shift them around, or they're all coming in and waiting in line. So you definitely want your services and functionality to integrate with your EHR to get the utmost automation. And I say that leaning into the next two as well. So then automated appointment reminders. So we see that now, where it can be a text, an email. You can even automate voicemail reminders through many platforms, but having that integrated with your software. I've seen offices that utilize a system that doesn't have it. And so then they're sending reports, or they're trying to do kind of a back end automation where, again, it's not saving your front desk or your office any time or effort. So you're losing a lot of that ROI that comes with that software and technology functionality and integration. And same down here with your email intake and your re-exam forms. I see a lot of clinics that have online paperwork on their website. The patient will fill it out, print it out, email it over, what have you. And then there's still the office taking that information, inputting it into the software. So with ChiroSpring, uniquely designed, where your intake information, your re-exam information, what have you, is coded directly with your EHR software. So as they fill it out, whether it be demographic information, medical history, complaints, acknowledgments, all of the information through that online intake that your patient fills out goes right into your EHR. So saving your front desk a ton of time, and then saving you time and capturing that subjective and putting it organized into your system. Whereas now I see a lot where they'll have to save the document to the patient's EHR. When the doctor is opening that document, reading through that document, the front desk is opening that document, data inputting, address, date of birth, social security number, all the demographics into the patient's file. So we really just want to automate those repetitive tasks that are not patient specific related, where we can repeat those on the back end. So your front desk, your office manager, your staff can focus on patient-facing tasks, on more productive tasks within the office. I'm going to take a drink of water really quick. I think you can hear it. That's what I'm used to in demos and webinars is I have to stay so much more hydrated, which is good for me because it's something I need to work on. Patient self-check-in is going to kind of follow this process through to the end. So then we have a new patient who's booked online. We've automatically reminded them of their visit. We've sent them their intake forms. It's created and built out their new patient file within your EHR. All of this is done automated. And when they come into the office, they can check in to your office. Now, a good self-check-in program is going to populate the subjective by the patient into your documentation. And this is huge, especially for a lot of doctors that are seeing patients on specific corrective treatment plans and or wellness plans. You're not going to see drastic changes between each visit. So when you're looking at the tracking of your documentation over a period of visits or over the case, there's a number of things in ChiroSpring where we've designed through outcome assessments that are graphed, that are scored and graphed for you. Your complaints, each date of service, and a subjective pain level is scored and graphed for you. Your goals are graphed for you. So there's a number of different things within our software it's going to do, but that subjective is going to change every single visit if you're having the patient fill out that subjective information on the self-check-in for that visit. So you're getting that new subjective. How is it impacting their ADLs? How are their complaints since the previous visit? Anything additional to add? Those types of things can be greatly valuable in your documentation to keep your documentation, very compliant in nature. Your adjustment can copy from the last or any visit. So salting is a term I'm sure many of you have heard of. SALT stands for same as last visit. And I think it's important to have a smart salting solution. And so specifically, getting with your software to really understand how they salt, where they salt, when they salt, what that means. With ChiroSpring specifically, you have a lot of layered setting options where you can choose what information salts from visit to visit, what information is just historical. And then also there's many buttons within your documentation to copy from any previous visit. So your adjustment on your spinal adjustments and your extremity adjustment panels, you can review every single adjustment that patient you've documented in the software and copy from any previous visit as well. And then you can add to that. We have an ICD CPT copy. This is great. So you could see specifically what we did on the previous visit. And if there's any changes that needed to be updated for this visit, you're able to do that very easily. So that ICD CPT copy is becoming more and more common across many of the software solutions. One thing I'll also say in here, you may want to check, I've worked with software companies where you had to enter every single ICD code that you wanted to use, and you had to enter every single CPT code individually that you wanted to use. So I will tell you to look at those minor details can be huge time savers in your setup and ongoing. So we have every single ICD-10 code in the system delivered. You can search it by code, search it by, actual any term, cervical, hip, what have you. You can search terms in there as well, which is really cool. And you can import your price list. You do not have to add those one by one. And so some of the software companies, especially if you're doing products, you're doing maybe selling standard process, Metagenics, what have you, there can be a number of variations in the size of the products and, the colors, if you're doing different things. That can be very time consuming to enter and then also to update ongoing. Should your prices change, should your products change, what have you. So being able to import and mass update those is very important as well. And then your billing and soap salt options. So that's where in here within the soap, is it just salting everything? Or are you able to choose what it solves, what it doesn't, and then also how you can edit and review that ongoing. So putting you, in control and know of where that information is coming and pre-populating from. And then to follow it all forward, right? So the patient's booked, they've come into our office, we've done their note. Now a good software system is going to auto-generate that HCPA 1500 for you. Now, if you're not billing insurance, you also want to look at what are the other automated methods for your cash payments. So can they store the payment method on file? Is it integrated 100% with the merchant processing? So you're not swiping a credit card and then coming in here and documenting in your software so it updates the ledger. So anytime you're doing any sort of dual entry, there's going to be a better solution. And or if you're looking at what merchant services company should I work with, look at your EHR and what it integrates with first, because again, having those ledgers updated automatically and a number of the other features that generally come, like storing the payments on file, doing automated payments on the back end, scheduling automated payments, doing online payments through an online payment portal. All of those additional features are designed specifically for your office and for the patient to really streamline, like we said, those productivity tasks. ICD and CPT, SOAP, and discharge auto text. This is really powerful. So the last software system I worked with didn't do this. I know a couple of them do, and I'm not sure about many of the others, but I thought it was beautiful. I was super impressed when I saw this in ChiroSpring, something I hadn't even thought of in the layer and level that they're able to do it. But again, specifically to getting a full, compliant, comprehensive SOAP note, one of the things our software is able to do is when you add an ICD code to a patient's file, when you add a CPT code to a patient's file, it's automatically going to input text into the SOAP note and or into the discharge instructions for the patient. So again, going back to your CPT codes, if you're to sell a product, as an example, maybe a standard process Cowley, like a multivitamin, in the instructions on the receipt, when you print out that receipt for the patient, it can input auto text, just what is Cowley, when should you take it? Here's more information on it. So you enter that text once, attach it with that code. Every single time you sell that product, you add that code, it's going to put that text onto the patient's receipt. Again, that could be in SOAP notes and or patient's discharge instructions. But I think that's super powerful. And then lastly, one of the coolest things about technology is that it's, having all of this data on the back end, and then you're able to run equations and queries and automate, that data being compiled and delivered back to you. So reporting, statistics, tracking, statements for your patients, running statements. With ChiroSpring, we actually have an integration with a company called eTactics. Not sure if anybody's ever heard of eTactics, but you can automate your statements with the click of a button from our software. You can send all your statement data over to eTactics. They will snail mail, print, envelope, stamp, snail mail address, all of that directly out to your patient on your behalf. And it's like 73 cents a statement, which if you look at the cost of the supplies, the materials, and the time it's going to take your staff to do those, depending upon how many statements you're sending out, that's a huge time, or that's a huge cost savings. 73 cents. I don't think you can do it 73 cents a statement in-house if you tried. And then super bills, making sure your software can print super bills, send super bills to patients. So whether you're cash or insurance, they're able to get reimbursed on their own. So all of these things are within your processes and workflows that we can really automate. So we're reducing the number of repetitive tasks on your current task force, whether that's you as the doctor or your front desk staff. And streamlining billing is going to be a big component. With technology, as we mentioned, as it continues to develop, it gets easier and easier. So where solutions were, the first solutions, you had your clearinghouses, you had your insurance companies, you had your EHR platforms. They're all new software systems. They're not necessarily going to talk and work with each other as effectively and, efficiently as we may want them to when they first come out. But as they've continued to grow, and as many of you have probably seen with your own software company, whatever it is that you're utilizing, electronic billing has gotten cleaner and more accurate year by year. So whereas now today, from your software, you can submit your bill batch through an EDI FTP transmission, is kind of the technology terms on the back end of the data format file that it's uploading into, and then how it's being submitted to the clearinghouse. But basically, this means with the click of a button in your EHR, you can submit your HCBA bill batch forms to the clearinghouse. And then you can upload those ERA statements as they come back. So back in the late 90s, aged myself a little bit here. Back in the late 90s, I was in middle school, high school, and I worked for my aunt's office. And when I worked in her office, way before, electronic billing or any of that was a thing, we were snail mailing every single HCFA form individually, folding those, enveloping those, sending those out. And then when those EOBs came back, it was a manual paper transfer to match with all of those patients' ledgers, what insurance paid on what. I can't even imagine trying to do that project today. So, we sometimes, I think, forget maybe how great and grand technology really is, reducing the manual things that we need to do, especially those redundant activities like stuffing envelopes with patient statements, stuffing HCFA forms and sending them to insurance, and manually trying to track all of those payments and where they went to. So that uploading ERA in your EDI submission, if you're billing insurance at any level, I hear some offices are like, we're just billing Medicare, and 5 to 10% of our billing is insurance only. Still, to have this electronic billing available and make it easy, accurate, quick, and fast for your office, even at only 5 to 10% of your billing, to me is 100% worth it. And then also to look at your AR. How easily are you able to review that accounts receivable? Do your patients have actual ledgers so you can see every line item in their ledger, what was paid by who, when, and what's due? All of those things, I think sometimes we consider that they're standardized across the board, software to software, and they're definitely not. So big questions to look at with your own software system, and or if you're a new doctor or a student looking at software systems to break down and understand deeper. Number 3, so we've been through the first 2, which is chiropractic specific software. So it's designed for your office. And number 2 is looking at your workflows, which we went pretty in depth on. So that's kind of a key thing I wanted to focus on for today with you. 3 is going to be relevant integrations. A good chiropractic EHR software system isn't going to do every absolutely single thing you need it to do, as its focus is and should be on your EHR functionality, right? Creating those developments, managing those developments, supporting those developments. And there's a lot of other systems and software companies out there. One of them, like clearinghouses. I know you have Brad Coston from Infinity. We integrate with Infinity. We can send your, EDI FTP transmission directly over, but we're not a clearinghouse, right? So our software system itself is not a clearinghouse, and we don't want to be a clearinghouse, because when we do that, you're going to lose features, functionalities, and support of the EHR as it tries to be a clearinghouse as well. So we integrate with Zingit Solutions, Reminder Call, Kairos Spring Pay for integrated merchant processing services, Papaya, and eTactics. So very relevant, smart integrations to allow you to get the most out of technology and automation. Zingit Solutions and Reminder Call are both appointment reminder and communication platforms. This is another one I see often where they'll say, doesn't your software do text messages or emails? And some may have this figured out. I can tell you the companies that I've worked with and the companies that clients come over and convert to our software from that had fully, appointment reminder functionality built out in their system. So they sent the text messages or the emails from the system. They didn't seem to work most of the time. So what I find from, clients that are looking to come to our software, they're like, yeah, we had text messages within our platform, but they wouldn't send to Sprint customers, or they would only send out half the time, or we didn't have control over them and they were sending them out at 7 a.m. in the morning and making all of our patients mad. So we just had to turn them off and stop using them. So I see across the board a number of issues and pitfalls that come with that. That I hear from other clients. It's something to definitely dive into, because it's great to have a feature, but if it's not usable, then it's not worth anything. So back to that, practical features, relevant integrations that really do improve, your workflows, your time, your productivity. I wanted to share with you, through a solution like Zing Solutions that's integrated with your EHR. I have another client that has a software, and I can't remember what it's called, but they've had it, they've used it. It's a communication platform and they like it. It's just, they like it. It's good. They would love to keep using it. But if it doesn't integrate with the EHR, you're losing all the automation. So if you have to upload reports, or you'll see some companies, they'll say we have a soft integration. So you just need to send us a report at the end of every day, and then all that stuff's turned on. Whenever you add those extra layers in there in that manual, number one, you're losing, right, the staff time, but also the room for error. Your allowance for error is going to increase every single time. So making sure that whatever communications platform you choose integrates with your software is going to be key in improving and having those, smart processes that are really creating an ROI. But just an example of what this can do for you and a couple of, workflows you can go through. One of them is going to be pre-appointment content campaigns. So with a communication platform like Zing It, you're able to send appointment messages prior to the visit based upon the reason of visit. So if the reason of visit is a 60-minute massage, your message can be completely different than if it's a re-exam, or if it's, maybe a day to, report of findings that you're doing. Then you can send specific content-related campaigns previous to that appointment, specific to that service and specific to that, or service or reason of visit. I see this a lot of times, most, specifically with new patients. So if a new patient schedules, you can have content campaigns pre-appointment for directions to your office, what to expect on the first visit, meet our team, meet our doctor. All of those different things are powerful to increase your patient communication. Those increase your patient show rates and definitely increase your patient compliance. Advanced appointment reminders, post-visit messages that could be like a survey or a review campaign. So all of this can be automated just based upon you seeing appointments and seeing patients in your EHR. So you're scheduling your EHR. These messages are going out. When you're actually seeing patients and completing that visit in your EHR, these automated reviews and automated surveys are going out. And even like within our system, if a patient is missing their appointment and that gets coined as a missed appointment inside your software, which with ChiroSpring, you can choose what a missed appointment is, 2 hours not checked in, 4 hours not checked in, whatever that is, at that time threshold, that missed appointment text message will go out. Patient recalls, patient hasn't been into the office for a year, patient hasn't been into the office for 6 months. Let's automate communication. So definitely we can run reports, we can call patients, we can leave voicemails. But when you can automate that workflow, you're going to see bigger, better results and higher returning results when we're taking any of those staff time hours out of that workflow as well. And then a patient birthday club is another example. So these are just some of the examples of the workflows that you can do with a proper communications platform. So I want to come in here and share a couple of screenshots to give you an idea of what I mean by industry specific modules. So depending upon what EHR you use, what software you're familiar with, or the ones that you've looked at, you may or may not even know what is capable or possible with your documentation. This is really as well where I got super impressed with their software company. Again, you can create in many software programs hot buttons and macros to document things like range of motion, active, passive. You have your various regions. So just looking at this straight out, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then however many tests, which these tests are duplicated for multiple regions, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's over 24 buttons between active, passive, all your regions and your tests. Over 24 buttons potentially or over a dozen, I'm sorry, that you would have to fluctuate with just to document range of motion. So as you're figuring out which button to choose in which instance, that can definitely slow your time down. So these panels, we call these pre-templated panels for a number of your examinations or evaluations you're doing are already pre-templated and built. So you can come in here, we're documenting active cervical range of motion, and we can just open this up. If we click here inside the software, it pulls up a number panel, or you can just check that something's normal. You can check if something is increased or decreased, if it's with pain or spasms. And then over here, you can specifically say at what segment level with any additional attributes. Very, very touchscreen friendly, especially if you're on a tablet or a touchscreen computer device, which greatly increases your input, greatly decreases your input time, to be able to touch through. Again, panels, I talked about these earlier just to show you a visual. All the different treatments. So I just kind of wanted to give you a visual look at those so you could see what it meant to be industry specific panels versus, macro buttons and what templates could look like. We talked about this some before, but training, support, backups, and updates outside of SOAP notes, billing, and training and support are the 3 key things I see doctors wanting to switch from their current software. Either they're not getting paid, or their billing isn't efficient, or their billing girl or person has finally said, I'm not using this software anymore. You have to get something different. So whether it's billing or it's my documentation's not complete, I'm behind, I'm not getting them done. I know there's something better. I hear that often. And then the third rung where doctors are really just done and ready to switch their software is I'm not getting supported. I can't get in touch with anyone. I'm not getting my questions answered. We weren't trained on our software. When we purchased our software, there was a lot of promises that were made about future developments that, 2 to 3 years down the road, we still haven't seen. And so all of those things are the core components of where I see doctors get frustrated to the point of wanting to switch your EHR. And the worst of them all is the software lost all my data. So I have seen that a number of times. Sorry, I didn't mean to click there. My data is gone. So obviously, if your data is gone, it wasn't backed up or being backed up, that creates a whole issue and a lot of trust with a lot of doctors who are just ready to start fresh with something new that is going to have their backups. So I wanted to share this because I mentioned this earlier that we have 24/7 redundant backups. So I wanted to share, what does that mean? What are redundant backups versus backups? So a backup is just creating a copy of your events, right? So if you're going to do an external hard drive backup, you're going to have a copy of all of your data on an external hard drive that you could take and use should that server or whatever crash, right? Redundancy is much more than just creating a copy and having that data stored. Redundancy makes sure that your data is able to provide continuity no matter what happens. So your data is stored in multiple geographical disparate locations. So, worst comes to worst, all of your data is, your office has a fire, if you will. So if you're backing up your data, to an external hard drive that you have stored in your storage room in your office catches on fire, all of that's still gone. So if you have it in another location, like your home, maybe your bank as well, then you're going to have a more secure. So with our cloud database, that's kind of the scenario there. So it's not everything is just backed up at our headquarters. So if something happens to our headquarters or, server warehouse, then all of your data would be gone as well. It is backed up in multiple geographic locations. So very, very secure. This kind of is just a comprehensive of what we looked at. And I know we're running short on time, so I did want to go through a couple of return on investment, but share with me, Christy, how are you? Are we good or?
We are. We're good. You have about 9 more minutes.
Okay, this can be gone through very, very quickly. I want to share this because I think these numbers are really powerful when you see them. And a lot of times we don't take the time to stop and break these numbers down and really understand and look at, is our software saving us time and is it saving us money? Is it an investment or is it just an expense for our office? And I hear a lot of offices, we started out our practice and we just wanted to go with the cheapest software, obviously to get started. We're just trying to keep our expenses low. 2 to 3 years later, looking for something different to more save them time and manage things a little more efficiently. Well, when you look at, what your software can actually produce for you, you start to see that you pay for what you get, right? And you're either, paying for a very cheap software that becomes an expense item, or you're investing in a software that was designed specifically for your practice that becomes a return on investment, an investment purchase. Just like if you were to purchase, when you look at your different machines and equipment, it's like, how can I recoup this investment? So how are you recouping your investment from your EHR? Up here, it can be very powerful just to look at your lifetime value. So I put the equation for lifetime value. If you've never calculated that in your practice, you should have a report where you can run your PVA. So what is your, annual visits? How many patients or how many visits are your patients seen in a year on average? So you can get those numbers from your current practice reports and look at what is your lifetime value for one single patient. So just as an example, $50, 12 visits a year, usually a patient on average for 10 years, the LTV would be $6,000 for this patient. And so that helps to know where you can invest and how much you can invest, where your break-even numbers are, all of those good things. Down here, we look at provider and staff time savings. So how you can calculate this is just look at your patients per week. So I'm going to do 100 patients per week. What is your CA's hourly wage? So I just put $15 in there, probably a little higher in most offices nowadays, and these are old numbers. Your DC, what is your DC hourly rate? You can look at what your monthly income is divided by the monthly hours that you worked. We're just going to assume $100 an hour for this equation. So if we're able to save through technology 1 hour a day, right? 1 hour a day, then that is going to be 260 hours a year, which is going to calculate out to $3,900 on your CA and $26,000 for you, the DC. So if you're able to save 1 hour a day, that's going to equate to about almost just under $30,000 in savings for you. And then looking at the investments, patient recalls. So these are from Zingit specifically. They've done the data with their clients and utilizing, again, 100 patients a week at $50 a patient visit, 12 patient visits on average a year for their PVA. Annual revenue growth on average from their clients they're seeing is 36 patients with this data. With that PVA, that is going to increase your revenue by $22,000 a year. So when you look at the cost of Zingit, you can look at the recalls and compare, is this worth the potential investment and return we're going to get with automating those tasks? Same for your appointment show rate with our missed call appointment. If our forecasted improvement is only 3%, if we're only able to improve 3% of your no-shows to showing, that annual revenue growth is still going to be $7,200 for your office. So there's a lot of numbers you can run to really look at what is this going to return if I'm truly able to get efficient with my technology, efficient with my workflows and processes, and efficient, with my software. And these are a couple of questions I left that you can ask at the end of this is how can you currently increase your workflow productivity with your current software solution? So how can I optimize, all the functionality and features within my current software to really see some of this return on investment? And through that process, you may identify, do we have the right software in place to meet our specific needs for our office? And that's it. That was a lot of information. I hope that was super helpful. But I definitely want to leave my information if you have questions on choosing software, how to choose software technology. This is a cell phone number. You can text that over. You can also email me or schedule a demo if you wanted to talk a little further. Or like I said, had specific questions about when it comes to software, technology, EHR, anything across the board. I may not always have the answer, but I will definitely find the answer or point you in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Nicole. You know what I love so much about this presentation is that automation is key, especially right now when we're having such staffing shortages across the country. Everything we can automate helps to save time and money, and it helps take a little pressure off of the team members that you do have who are trying to do one and a half jobs. It's just absolutely amazing. Like, I love everything that you're talking about. I say this all the time. I think I've written like 3 articles on it this year, like automate, 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 automate. Okay, I switched providers because I could schedule appointments online. Mm-hmm. My favorite is my nurse practitioner. I can check in online and still sit in my car. Mm-hmm. Like, you can come in if you want to, or you can sit in your car. Well, if I sit in my car, I can look at my phone, play games, listen to music, without disturbing people in the waiting room. And then they just text me and they're like, room 7. And I go in. And then I walk out and they text me and they're like, your total due today is $12. Would you like to pay that with your credit card on file? Yep.
Easy.
Like, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Even my mother switched. She won't go to a provider that does not have an app or online scheduling as well. And she's in her 60s.
And that's where I hear a lot. And so it's so dependent upon the individual. My grandma is so tech savvy. She's the same way. She's not going to do that. But then my other grandma, you're not going to get her on any online anything. So that's the thing too, I want to say with your software is you always want to look at to your backups, right? So there's always that certain part of my patient base is never going to do our self check-in. You may be surprised. Number one, you may be greatly surprised. But also, I know our software system and any good software system has a backup for that. So if they can't do the self-check-in or they can't do the online intake online, do you have something that, matches it? So if they need to do it on paper, our CA or our front desk needs to do it, they can. So absolutely. But I'm seeing that more and more, Christy. Over half my demos are doctors that are, I lost my staff, or we haven't been able to replace staff, or we're just going to try to automate as much as we can. So we're not reliant upon staff because we've been through 2 to 3, office managers in the last 2 years. And I'm just hearing a lot of those stories that are unfortunate, but I do want to say there is technology out there that can help you.
And the best part is that technology is not that expensive. It's cheaper than hiring another person to do that. Well, and I'll say this too. I love text message reminders because I would have missed my dentist appointment except they texted me and reminded me 2 days before that I had a dentist appointment. And then Friday I got a text message from my eye doctor that was like, you have an appointment scheduled. I scheduled it a year ago.
Yep.
Obviously, it's probably on Dr. Foxworth's calendar because I put it on the wrong one. But I didn't even have it on my calendar. And they're like, you have this appointment. Please press to confirm. I'll pop it on my calendar and hit confirm. I would have missed both of those and had to reschedule. And this is what I'll say about online scheduling. I know people are hesitant to just let people all willy-nilly schedule themselves on their calendar. It's not really that chaotic, honestly. It's like we fear the unknown. But like most people are just like you and I. We're moms. We're working during the day. And I don't know about y'all, but when I need to go get a chiropractic adjustment, I don't think about it till like 8:30 at night when I'm crawling into bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to call make an appointment today. Like that's the only time I remember I meant to do something, or to schedule my son's teeth cleaning, or schedule my husband a chiropractic appointment. But I love that I can pull up the app and make that appointment, or like for my son, his athletic exams. Yes,
Physical.
I've done everything. Yeah, which you know all about because her husband's basketball coach. That's really good. So, like, you think about that at night and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy today and I've got to get that done. School starts in 3 weeks and I have to get that turned in. What do? I open up the app, I schedule the appointment, it sends me a reminder notification. That's the stuff that I love because it's convenient and it's like you're meeting people where they are. I think we lose so many patients in our practices because we're not open when they're thinking about their low back pain, their hip pain, their joint pain, their headache, their shoulder pain. They're not thinking about. They're thinking about that at night and early in the morning before you're open, and their business hours are your business hours. So,
I'll say, or early in the morning. I'm doing all of that at like 4 and 5 in the morning when I'm up before everybody. Let me get all those things done.
I agree, which is why I also get up at 4 in the morning. That's how much I love Nicole, like Thursday. Which is so funny. Or at 8:30 when my son walks in and goes, "Hey, by the way, you remember I got to get that 16-inch film." But he can cook, so and clean toilets. Like still can balance his own checkbook. So we're getting there. I just needed to make it an appointment. But yeah, so there's such a beauty in it makes your office more efficient, but it also makes the lives of your patients so much more easier and convenient. So just something to think about. If you click on the offers tab, there's a place for you to, it'll pop up and it'll allow you to schedule a free demo if you want to talk to Nicole about her software. I encourage you to do so. I'd also thrown up in there in the chat log that, in case y'all didn't know, Nicole's also a social media genius and kind of a powerhouse. That's actually how we met.
Yep.
Is her social media. I'm social media decon. As y'all know, we talk about it all the time. I'm doing much better than I used to today. I've been on Instagram for like 8 months.
Oh, well, we have to find you. Are we Instagram friends?
I don't know, but another friend
of
mine is so funny. She is Lauren Brunswick is a chiropractor in Wisconsin, and she is like unbelievable. She goes viral all the time for her chiropractic office, but she doesn't want to go viral because she's trying to do videos and posts that are seen by her local community, not the nation, because that's not beneficial to the practice.
Her reels are great, though. They're so good.
They are. So she's notorious for like closing that account and then opening a new one to start all over from scratch. And the last time she was going to do that last fall, I was like, Lauren, you do realize you're educating the entire world on chiropractic in a funny, lighthearted way. So like, stop doing that and go viral. So she's left this last one open for a really long time. But she's the one who was like, okay, quit being lame and be on Instagram. You're just being lazy.
I love Instagram. And Instagram is where more of my friends are going now because it's not so much like Facebook. You're not just reading people's beliefs and things that you could care or not care, to know about them. But on Instagram, you're just seeing images. It's just fun. It's just images of kids, images of this. It's just back to that social interaction and not kind of some of the stress that you find with like a Facebook and a Twitter, if you will.
I'm not even on Twitter. I don't know.
I'm all over it. Yeah. Ask me anything social media wise. Again, I went vertical. I couldn't do social media and this and EHR and be good at anything. So I wanted to be very, very good at what I was doing. That's the best way to explain it. But I love answering questions. I love talking about it. It's still a huge passion. And I use it for, how I connect with chiropractors and market.
Like she's like the social media know-how, like everything. So love about, like I said, and I love that. I love that. Plus, you get to see friends with her like me, get to see the exciting life and times and adventures of her boys, which are her world, which is like you can't have 15 jobs. So, which I'm glad you're not doing that. Like, right. I'm working real hard not to have like more than one. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. Just remind y'all that next week we're talking about errors in billing with Free From Hall next Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you haven't registered, make sure you go to the website at ChiroHealthUSA.com/webinars to go ahead and register for that. And again, if you're watching this in the recording, if you've got comments, send it to me. If you have questions for Nicole and you did not write down her email address, what were you thinking? But that's okay. Just email me. I'll forward them to her. We'll get you connected and get those answered. I want y'all to have an amazing rest of your day, a fabulous week, and I will catch y'all next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Nicole. Bye.